From Bonnie and Clyde's bullet-riddled Ford V8 to James Dean's little bastard Porsche, some cars carry stories darker than their engines. These infamous vehicles aren't just machines, they're symbols of crime, celebrity, tragedy, and legend. Which of these notorious cars fascinates you the most, and why? Let us know in the comments. Number 13. Bonnie and Clyde's 1934 Ford V8 Death Car. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow's 1934 Ford Model 40 Deluxe four-door V8 became one of the most infamous vehicles in American criminal history because it served as both their getaway car and the machine in which they died. Clyde Barrow specifically favored Ford's flathead V8 cars for their power-to-weight ratio, durability, and ability to outrun most police vehicles of the era, a preference he famously expressed in a 1934 letter to Henry Ford, praising the V8's performance. The car, a tan Ford Deluxe stolen from Ruth and Jesse Warren in Topeka, Kansas, was being driven through Benville Parish, Louisiana on May the 23rd of 1934, when a six-man posse led by Texas Ranger Frank Hamer and Louisiana officers staged an ambush. As Bonnie and Clyde approached, the officers opened fire with rifles, shotguns, and pistols, delivering an estimated 130 to 167 rounds. The Ford was left mangled, its body punctured repeatedly, with both occupants killed instantly. After the ambush, the death car became a macabre attraction, touring carnivals, state fairs, and sideshows for decades. Its bullet-riddled body turned into a symbol of Depression-era outlaw mythology, reflecting America's fascination with crime, rebellion, and sensational media. Today, the preserved board remains a cultural artifact, illustrating how a single car can become entwined with criminal legend and national memory.
Number 12. James Dean's Porsche 550 Spyder Little Bastard. James Dean's 1955 Porsche 550 Spyder chassis 550-55 became one of the most infamous cars in cultural history because of the actor's fatal crash and the eerie chain of accidents associated with the car's remains. Dean bought the lightweight mid-engine Spyder, one of only 90 built for racing. Its 1.5-liter air-cooled flat-4 Furman engine made around 110 horsepower, giving the 550 an exceptional power-to-weight ratio and agility on the track. Dean had the car customized with the number 130 and the nickname Little Bastard, a phrase reportedly used by friend Bill Hickman and adopted by Dean as a mischievous badge of identity. On September the 30th of 1955, while driving to a race in Salinas, California, Dean collided with a 1950 Ford Tudor at an intersection near Tulane, California. Dean died almost instantly from the impact, making the Spyder a symbol of both rising stardom and sudden tragedy. The wrecked car's infamy grew when parts salvaged from it, such as the engine and suspension, were later installed in other racers that subsequently crashed, injuring their drivers. The disassembled car, later used in safety exhibits, is itself reported to have fallen from a display and caused injuries. Though many of these stories are difficult to verify fully, the legend of the cursed Spyder endures. Its lasting impact lies in how it fused celebrity, motorsport danger, and myth, creating one of automotive history's most haunting narratives. Number 11. Al Capone's 1928 Cadillac Town Sedan. Al Capone's 1928 Cadillac Series 341A Town Sedan has become one of the most notorious vehicles of the Prohibition era because it showcased how America's most powerful bootlegger used cutting-edge automotive technology to evade rivals and authorities. Capone commissioned extensive modifications to the otherwise conventional luxury Cadillac. The car received approximately 3,000 pounds of added armor plating, much of it hidden behind the body panels, and 1-inch thick bullet-resistant glass, features rare outside government or military use at the time. Its V8 engine and reinforced suspension were upgraded to handle the extra weight, maintaining drivability despite the massive load. Capone's Cadillac also incorporated offensive and deceptive elements: green police-style flashing lights, a siren, and a radio receiver that allowed his men to monitor local police broadcasts. These additions reportedly enabled Capone to impersonate law enforcement when necessary and to navigate Chicago streets with near impunity. After Capone's imprisonment on tax evasion charges in 1931, the Cadillac was seized by federal authorities. During World War II, the U.S. Treasury briefly used it to transport President Franklin Roosevelt until a dedicated armored vehicle became available. The Cadillac's cultural impact endures because it embodied the intersection of organized crime, early automotive engineering, and the evolving tactics of law enforcement.
Number 10. John Dillinger's 1933 Essex Terraplane 8. John Dillinger's 1933 Essex Terraplane 8 earned its infamy as one of the bank robber's favorite getaway cars during his violent crime spree in 1933 and 34. Produced by Hudson, the Terraplane 8 was unusually quick for its class. Equipped with a 244 cubic inch inline 8 engine, producing around 95 horsepower. A strong performance at a time when many police departments still operated slower, heavier patrol cars. Its relatively light body construction and strong low-end torque gave it exceptional acceleration, making it ideal for rapid escapes. Dillinger reportedly admired the Terraplane's ability to outpace law enforcement, and several of his confirmed bank jobs involved stolen Terraplanes. Most famously, he used the 1933 Terraplane 8 in the 1933 robbery of the Central Bank in Greencastle, Indiana. During another incident in 1933, Dillinger and his gang escaped an FBI stakeout in St. Paul, Minnesota after a gunfight, with the Terraplane absorbing multiple bullets but still managing to flee, reinforcing the car's reputation for toughness and speed. The Terraplane's association with Dillinger elevated the model from a mid-priced performance car to a symbol of Depression-era outlaw ingenuity. Its lasting cultural impact lies in how it highlighted the growing technological gap between criminals and law enforcement, prompting police forces across the country to upgrade their fleets. Today, surviving Terraplanes connected to Dillinger remain part of American crime lore, representing the dramatic intersection of automotive engineering and notorious criminal history. Number 9. Elvis Presley's Stutz Blackhawk. Elvis Presley's Stutz Blackhawk became one of Hollywood's most infamous celebrity cars, not because of crime or tragedy, but because of the extraordinary stories surrounding the king of rock and roll and his flamboyant lifestyle. The Stutz Blackhawk, introduced in 1970, was a bespoke ultra-luxury coupe built on a Pontiac Grand Prix chassis, but heavily re-engineered with hand-formed Italian bodywork by Carenziera Padan. Early production cars, including Elvis's, featured a highly modified 7.5-liter, 455 cubic inch Pontiac V8 tuned for strong low-end torque, along with gold-plated trim, Connolly leather, and exotic woodwork. Costing around $22,000 at launch, far more than a Rolls-Royce, it was marketed as America's most exclusive hand-built car. Elvis bought the second Blackhawk ever produced, the first being the factory prototype in 1970. The car immediately absorbed itself into his legend. He reportedly drove it the day he recorded Burning Love, used it for spontaneous late-night rides around Memphis, and even backed it into a post at Graceland shortly after delivery, an accident widely retold in fan circles. The Blackhawk also became known as one of the few cars Elvis personally washed and maintained. After Elvis died in 1977, the Blackhawk's notoriety grew. It became a symbol of his excess, charisma, and unpredictable behavior, bridging the worlds of celebrity culture and exotic automotive design.
Number 8. O.J. Simpson's 1993 Ford Bronco. O.J. Simpson's white 1993 Ford Bronco became one of the most infamous vehicles of the 20th century when it became the centerpiece of a slow-speed police pursuit broadcast live on June the 17th of 1994. The Bronco, driven by Simpson's friend and former teammate Al Cowings, carried a distraught Simpson in the back seat after he failed to surrender to authorities following his indictment for the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. The chase unfolded on Los Angeles freeways at speeds often below 50 miles per hour, with dozens of police cars trailing the Bronco and news helicopters broadcasting the event to an unprecedented national audience, an estimated 95 million viewers. Technically, the 1993 Bronco was a fifth-generation model, equipped with a 5.8-liter V8 producing 200 horsepower paired with Ford's rugged four-wheel drive system. Normally associated with off-road toughness and everyday utility, the Bronco became a symbol of national tension and media spectacle. The vehicle's infamy deepened when the trial became one of the most watched and debated legal proceedings in U.S. history. After the chase, the Bronco was stored for years and later displayed at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum. Its cultural impact is enduring. The Bronco became shorthand for televised drama, celebrity downfall, and the moment America's 24-hour news era fully converged with criminal justice. Number 7. Hitler's Mercedes-Benz 770K Grosser. The Mercedes-Benz 770K Grosser W150 remains one of the most infamous automobiles in world history because of its direct association with Adolf Hitler and its role in Nazi propaganda. Introduced in 1938, the 770K, the K for compressor, was Mercedes-Benz's most powerful and luxurious pre-war model. It featured a 7.7-liter inline-8 engine producing around 230 horsepower with supercharging, an extraordinary figure for the era. Built on a massive chassis with advanced engineering, it was frequently outfitted with armor plating, run-flat tires, and 40mm bullet-resistant glass, making it one of the earliest purpose-built armored state cars. Hitler used several custom 770Ks for parades, diplomatic appearances, and major state events, where the vehicles were deliberately showcased to project power and technological superiority. The open-top parade configuration allowed him to stand and give the Nazi salute, making the car inseparable from the imagery of the regime. These vehicles were maintained by the Reich Chancellor Motor Pool and were among the most photographed automobiles of the 1930s and 40s. After World War II, several 770Ks linked to high-ranking Nazi officials were captured and later displayed in museums or held in private collections. Their existence sparked long-standing ethical debates about preserving artifacts tied to atrocities. Today, the 770K's infamy lies not in its engineering, remarkable as it was, but in its symbolic role as a mobile stage for one of history's most destructive dictatorships.
Number 6. Pablo Escobar's Porsche 911 RSR and his outlaw racing past. Pablo Escobar's connection to the Porsche 911 RSR forms one of the strangest intersections of motorsport and criminal history. Long before becoming one of the world's most powerful drug lords, Escobar was an enthusiastic amateur racer in Colombia during the late 1970s. Among the most notable cars linked to him was a Porsche 911 RSR, an ultra-rare racing variant derived from the 911 Carrera RS and built for FIA Group 4 and Group 5 competition. The RSR featured a 2.8 or later 3-liter flat 6, producing well over 300 horsepower, extensive weight reduction, and widened bodywork for endurance racing. Escobar reportedly drove and later oversaw ownership of an RSR formerly campaigned by Emerson Fittipaldi in the International Race of Champions Series, or IROC. The car's elite pedigree made it one of the most collectible 911s ever built. Under Escobar's orbit, however, it became entangled in Colombia's violent narco era and was eventually seized, changing hands multiple times before undergoing restoration decades later. Escobar's broader collection included numerous high-performance machines, many of which were confiscated, abandoned, or destroyed as his cartel empire collapsed. His racing history contributed to the image he cultivated, a man who treated danger, speed, and risk as part of his daily life. The RSR's lasting cultural impact lies in its dual legacy. It's celebrated as a historically important race car, yet permanently shadowed by its link to one of the most notorious criminals of the 20th century, illustrating how even elite engineering can become embedded in darker histories. Number 5. Janis Joplin's psychedelic Porsche 356C. Janis Joplin's 1964 Porsche 356C Cabriolet became one of the most recognizable and infamous celebrity cars of the 1960s, not for criminal activity, but for the turbulent stories tied to its ownership and the tragic end of its driver. Joplin purchased the car in 1968 and soon had it custom painted by her friend Dave Richards in a bold mural-style psychedelic pattern featuring butterflies, landscapes, stars, and portraits. The once white 356C, powered by a 1.6-liter flat-4 producing around 75 horsepower, became an extension of her identity during the peak of her fame. Because the car was so visually distinctive, it attracted constant public attention, both good and bad. It was famously stolen in 1969 while Joplin was recording. The thief attempted to disguise it with gray primer, but the car was quickly found and returned because the paintwork made it impossible to hide. It also suffered episodes of vandalism and required repeated touch-ups. Just a year after acquiring the Porsche, Joplin died of a heroin overdose in October of 1970, causing the already iconic car to take on a deeper, somber symbolism. After her passing, the 356C remained with her family for decades before being restored and displayed in museums. Its lasting cultural impact stems from its dual legacy, a rolling piece of psychedelic art inseparable from the counterculture movement, and a poignant artifact linked to one of rock music's most celebrated yet tragic voices.
Number 4. The Manson Family 1959 Ford Ranch Wagon. The 1959 Ford Ranch Wagon, associated with the Manson family, became one of the most disturbing vehicles in American criminal history because of its connection to the Tate LaBianca murders in August of 1969. While the family used multiple cars during this period, a blue 1959 Ford Ranch Wagon was among the vehicles linked to their movements surrounding the crime spree. The Ranch Wagon, a full-sized Ford equipped with a 5.4-liter, 332-cubic-inch FE Series V8 in many configurations, was valued for its large interior, durability, and ability to carry several people, traits that made it practical for Charles Manson's itinerant commune-like group. Members of the family used the wagon for transportation to and from various locations during the summer of 1969, including trips connected to the activities leading up to the Tate and LaBianca killings. The car became a part of the physical landscape of the murders, a seemingly ordinary station wagon tied to crimes that shocked the nation with their brutality and senselessness. After the arrests, photographs and reports featuring the ranch wagons cemented its place in the visual history of the case. Its lasting cultural impact stemmed from how an everyday American family car became entangled with one of the most infamous criminal acts of the 20th century. Number 3. The 1967 Impala of the Texas cheerleader scandal. The 1967 Chevrolet Impala became an unlikely icon of infamy through its central role in the bizarre Texas cheerleader scandal of the 1980s, a case that captured national attention for its mix of teenage rebellion, social intrigue, and tragic consequences. The Impala, a mid-size full-frame car with a 327 cubic-inch V8 producing 375 horsepower, was one of the most common vehicles on American roads, yet it became infamous for its role as the getaway and meeting vehicle in a series of crimes involving local high school students in Texas. The scandal involved multiple incidents of assault and public indecency tied to a group of teenagers, including members of the high school cheerleading squad. The Impala was reportedly used repeatedly by the ringleaders to transport participants and victims, giving it a grim notoriety. Witnesses and media coverage emphasized the car as a symbol of the story, a perfectly ordinary, reliable vehicle juxtaposed against shocking, deviant behavior. Though the car itself was mechanically unremarkable, its association with the case made it a fixture in news coverage and local memory. The 1967 Impala's infamy lies in how a mundane, ubiquitous automobile became a central artifact in a sensationalized cultural narrative, illustrating how vehicles can acquire dark historical significance through human actions rather than engineering or performance alone. Number 2. The blood-stained Chrysler, the Lindbergh kidnapping car. The 1932 Chrysler sedan used in the infamous Lindbergh kidnapping became one of the most notorious vehicles in American criminal history. The car belonged to Bruno Hoffman, later convicted of the abduction and murder of Charles Lindbergh Jr., the 20-month-old son of aviator Charles Lindbergh. The The Chrysler, a full-size four-door sedan powered by a 65-horsepower straight-eight, was unremarkable mechanically, but became historically significant due to its role as the vehicle where the critical evidence was found. Hoffman reportedly used the car to store the ransom money as part of the escape plan following the kidnapping in March of 1932. When police recovered the vehicle, forensic investigators found handwriting samples, ransom money hidden in gas tanks, and traces linking it to the crime scene. Dubbed the blood-stained Chrysler in contemporary newspapers, the sedan became a focal point in the trial, symbolizing both the audacity of the crime and the meticulous investigation that ultimately led to Hoffman's conviction. The Chrysler's infamy extended beyond the trial. It toured the country as a crime exhibit, appearing in newspapers, magazines, and museum displays, embodying the early use of forensic and vehicular evidence in law enforcement. Its cultural impact lies in its transformation from a standard consumer automobile into a permanent symbol of one of America's most shocking early 20th century crimes, illustrating how ordinary vehicles can become inseparable from criminal legend. And at number 1, the 1966 Oldsmobile Tornado Mafia hit cars. The 1966 Oldsmobile Tornado gained infamy as the preferred vehicle for organized crime hitmen in the 1960s due to its unique combination of power, stealth, and innovation. Introduced as the first American front-wheel drive car since the Cord 810A12, the Tornado featured a longitudinally mounted 425 cubic inch rocket V8 producing 385 horsepower paired with a turbo-hydromatic automatic transmission. Its four-wheel drive layout allowed for remarkably smooth and quiet launches, an ideal feature for criminals needing to approach targets without drawing attention. Mafia families, particularly in New York and Chicago, reportedly favored Tornadoes for contract hits and rapid getaways. The car's large, heavy frame disguised its acceleration, allowing hitmen to enter and exit urban environments quickly. Unlike lighter European sports cars, the Tornado could carry multiple passengers and weapons discreetly while maintaining stability and speed. Its unassuming full-size luxury appearance also helped it to blend in with affluent neighborhoods, reducing suspicion during operations. The Tornado's association with organized crime elevated its status from an innovative automotive marvel into a symbol of illicit power and cold precision. Their enduring cultural impact lies in its dual identity, a technological marvel as America's first post-war front-wheel drive V8 and a legendary tool of underworld operations. Films and documentaries referencing 1960s mob activity often feature Tornadoes, cementing their place in the mythology of crime and automotive history. From gangster tanks to cursed race cars, these vehicles prove that history isn't only written by people, it can be traced in steel and rubber. Infamy, tragedy, and legend ride together in each story, reminding us that some cars are more than transportation. They're enduring symbols of human obsession, crime, and culture. Which infamous car story surprised you the most?